So we found a lot of people that either, want to mix it in or don't drink for whatever reason. They love Liquid Death, especially in fun environments.
Hi, I'm Seher Thadani, and today I'm here with Dan Murphy, the SVP of Marketing at Liquid Death. Dan, it's so nice to have you here.
Great to be here.
Tell us a little bit about your background. You're SVP at Liquid Death now, but you've had an extensive career in advertising. Tell us how you got to, started and how you got to where you are now.
I kind of have a non-traditional background for a brand marketer. I had, a career in advertising that started really on the digital and tech side of things. So went through a lot of the major agencies, have had titles like Director of Digital Operations, Executive Digital Producer, things like that. I was at Google for about 3 years here in New York, playing with machine learning before it was cool. And I have at least one failed startup of my own. So that doesn't...
Only one?
Well, yeah, just one for now.
Okay.
One is plenty. But yeah, that isn't the traditional path of somebody who winds up being a brand marketer. But I think if you'll humor me with this little analogy, MMA solved like an age-old question in the 90s. If you put a boxer up against a wrestler, up against Taekwondo, who would win? And what MMA proved was that you needed Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They beat the biggest people. And I think today, if you don't understand the piping, the digital infrastructure of the world, you cannot hack your way into minds. And so I think my past is actually quite relevant.
When did you join Liquid Death?
About a year and a half ago.
Okay.
I'm also fortunate to be one of those early investors. So my eye has been on this company literally from day one.
That's right. You invested before you started working there.
That's right, yeah.
And what drew you to it?
Well, I will say I still remember a slide in the very earliest of pitch decks. And, in the ad world, there's all these brand muses, right? And in the water category, which is a bit boring, they were all the same. It was healthy yoga mom. Pure, the aesthetic was a little bit feminine, and heavy metal, insane party water was a complete white space. And in those early days, it was non-obvious that Liquid Death was going to become, one of the fastest growing CPG beverage brands of all time. In fact, I'm sure this Liquid Death was laughed at by many folks. But I knew that if this worked, and I felt that it would, that's a massive bet with a massive payoff.
Mm-hmm. And the CEO, Mike, he's a brand guy.
Oh, absolutely.
So did this really start from a brand?
Well, Mike had a really interesting observation and premise. He looked at all the fun, wild, subversive, crazy marketing in the beverage world, and it was always attached to something pretty unhealthy. You've got your booze, your high fructose corn syrup, energy drinks. And he thought, if you could apply that to something like water that came from a pretty bland category, could you get people to drink more water more often? Mm-hmm. And if you put still water in infinitely recyclable aluminum, could you do something good for the planet in the process? Here we are about 4 years later, and I think the answer is yes.
Yeah. What about for the market that doesn't want to drink necessarily? It's kind of nice to have a can that looks like a beer can.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. So, we have a lot of tailwinds behind us. One of those, of course, is environmental consciousness. Another one of those is health consciousness. But, a third is certainly consciousness around alcohol. We're not your mom. We're not your dad. We're not trying to tell you what to do. Yeah. But, if you're having 7 vodka tonics, maybe put a water in there.
Yeah.
Or if you don't drink and you still want to be in a fun social environment, like holding a Liquid Death is a lot different than a crinkly plastic bottle.
Yeah.
So we found a lot of people that either, want to mix it in or don't drink for whatever reason. They love Liquid Death, especially in fun environments.
And so where are you guys going?
Well, we have plans for global domination.
Okay.
We have a lot of fans and followers all around the world. I wouldn't be surprised if they can get Liquid Death sometime in the near future. We have a couple things pretty core to our DNA. I think music is certainly one of them. Comedy is another one. We want to make healthy beverages 50 times more fun. Everything we do, from merch to our big brand content, has an element of humor. So getting further and deeper into that world is probably likely for us as well.
Amazing. And before we wrap up, you guys do incredible creative collaborations. Tell us about a couple that have just blown your mind.
Well, I think our math is kind of pretty simple. And it comes from a bit of necessity. We're in an exceptionally fractured entertainment and just information ecosystem. You have a dopamine slot machine in your pocket that's flashing at you, competing for your attention. So we can't buy our way into it as a startup. And so a lot of our process is, how can we do something unexpected that'll win the internet for the day? And how can we make people want to share something with their friends. I think that's the only way you break through.
Yeah, it's been great to meet you
My
and hear
pleasure.
all about the world domination you have in store for Liquid Death.
Thank you.